So the craniosacral mechanism is the primary respiratory mechanism of the body. You know, primary respiratory mechanism. So it's the seat of all breathwork, in a sense, that system is what we're trying to align, it's what we're trying to operate to get the cerebrospinal fluid flow to go to all parts of the body. And that is your primary respiratory mechanism. And that operates from the dural system in the head, so that the brain expands between 6 and 12 times a minute. And that pumps the cerebrospinal fluid all the way down. Now there's a diaphragm in the head, there's a diaphragm in the thoracic inlet, which is here. We have our true diaphragm here, and we have a diaphragm at the sacrum. And it's important that all of those diaphragms are free and unrestricted in their work. Now again, when you've got pelvic misalignments or shoulder misalignments or ribcage misalignments, all of that restricts the true diaphragms. So although you breathe in, to get the true nature and the best fulfillment out of breath is to have the whole craniosacral mechanism working correctly with no tension or stress in those particular diaphragms. So that's where it really fits with breath work. So while you're in this neutral state with the 3 blocks in place, then we can do our breathing exercises. So there's various points you can hold that augment that, especially around the diaphragm and the pelvic area. The suboccipital area is, and then when you're doing your breath work, it's having much more effect. So you can breathe through a different organ, you can breathe through a different restriction, you can see whether one side of the rib cage is opening more than the other, and you'll see that after a few alignments, it starts to equalise up so that your diaphragms are working much more effectively. And so breath work becomes even more potent. So what you've got with this craniosacral mechanism is, it's the brain, and then it becomes what we call the dural tube, which goes all the way down the spine. So it flows all the way down the spine, inside of the spine, behind these parts here, the pedicles, and it comes all the way down to the sacrum. Now it's firmly attached at the axis, so it comes round the brain, it's firmly attached here. So anything that misaligns the spine at this level causes problems in it, and then it starts to torque or twist as it comes down, and it's attached down at the sacrum. It's the level of what we call sacral 2, so all the way down there. So if you've got a pelvic imbalance, it misaligns it. If you've got an occipital balance, it misaligns it. And in between then goes into torsion, which then restricts the cerebrospinal fluid flow, as well as putting pressure on nerves and the arteries that feed those organs. So that leads to ill health as well, and not good repair. So the better the craniosacral pump mechanism, without restrictions to those 4 diaphragms, is very important for recovery. Inside the brain, the hormones and chemicals that are made are anti-inflammatories, anti-carcinogenic, all sorts of things, good health, cortisol levels, and all of that is fed, as I say, through this vagus system, of which 80% of it's input into the brain and 20% is a motor output. So any misalignments here, so, you know, doing this sort of thing, clenching your teeth on one side, dominant eye strain, head positioning, a blow to the head, even just malpositioning, all of that can restrict the flow and lock these bones up, leading to many, many problems. Yeah, one of the biggest parts of research now is that they realise depression and anxiety is basically what we call the neocortex, the frontal cortex of the brain, so under these blue bones. And these lock up quite a lot with weight of glasses, tension, eye strain, dominant eye, all of that kind of thing. So it's leading to mental conditions as well, they're now finding. So the biggest part of our research was able to reset the relationship between the base of the skull and these 2 bones here, which allow the nodding and rolling. And so we've ergonomically designed this to make that separation possible. So it's very, very comfortable, as well as being very stable and making that correction. So what we're doing at the pelvic level is it's the same shape as the sacrum, so it sits under the sacrum and lifts it very gently between the 2 hip bones, which again allows that spirit level to realign in orientation with the top. And so that's how that release takes place, and that's very comfortable. It's the joint between the leg bone and the ankle, and it just allows a little bit of traction in here to again switch those what we call proprioceptive messages going up to the vagus nerve and into the brain to tell us where we are in space. This is just separating that with a little bit of traction, again nice and comfortable, made this ergonomically very suitable for comfort as well and design, and that separates so those 3 areas and now sending the right messages, all neutral to the brain, and allows the body to just naturally